What is going on, Frenchi family? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to continue on with the wiring. We are going to finally start working on our intake cam positioning sensor and our exhaust positioning sensor, and we're also going to be wiring up our vanos solenoids today. We might as well knock out the coolant temperature sensor and oil pressure switch since we're right there. So basically, if you guys haven't been following along with the build already, this is my BMW E90. We are doing a maxxecu and 8HP70X conversion. Huge shout out to my boy Joshua over at Guru AutoWorks for sponsoring the build. We are running his 8HP70X adapter kit, and he also hooked us up with our maxxecu since he is a dealer for them. So if you guys need any maxxecu setups or 8HP kits or 6HP28s or anything to do with transmissions, make sure you hit up our guy over at Guru AutoWorks. But today we are going to be focusing on the wiring for our sensors now. So like I said, if you guys haven't been following along already, I am doing wiring in series. So we've already taken care of our coil packs, we've already taken care of our injectors. So now we're going to be moving to the forward of the engine, and we're going to be focusing on some sensors. So just to get a little recap, coil pack wiring is done, injectors are done as well, and I did go ahead and start wiring looming. The only reason I did the wire looming on this is just so I can get measurements of what size looms I have to buy. So for my injectors, I ended up using 3/16. The only reason I went with a little bit bigger one was because I already had my pins crimped on it, and got some N63 hood dumps over here. The stuff that I originally wanted to use was the 1/8 stuff, so this is perfect sizing for 2 wires to go through it. But since I had the terminals and everything pinned on it, they wouldn't fit through the sleeve itself, so we had to go with a little bit size bigger and 3/16. But that's irrelevant. So we're going to be focusing on these over here. So I have a little bit of information for you guys, so make sure you guys stick around to get that. So this is our intake position slash our home cam position sensor. This is our exhaust position sensor. We have our vanos solenoids here, so we have intake and exhaust. I'm not sure if those were correct or backwards, whatever. Either way, they're gonna get wired the same. We have our coolant temperature sensor over here, and we have our oil pressure switch. So the oil pressure switch is gonna use only 1 pin, so that's gonna get wired to a wire coming out of the ECU. Coolant temperature sensor is going to get a ground and a signal from the ECU. Our intake cam position sensor is the most important one. So on the maxxecu harness, we have a couple wires already ran here, just basically skip forward. But inside the harness, the flying lead harness has these thicker cables. Let me see if I can find it down here. So it comes with these thicker cables. It has a couple of them in there already. So these are important because they're also labeled on where they're supposed to go. So let me see if I can find the name on this one. There we go. So if you guys see that, this wire says home cam. There is another wire which I have tucked over here. Let me get that for you guys. This one says trigger, if you guys see that, which is another thicker cable that comes with the flying lead harness. So that one's trigger. So that trigger goes to your crankshaft position sensor. So that one, if you guys see underneath there, is the starter. Let me get you guys a little bit closer. Underneath the starter, you have your actual crankshaft position sensor, which you guys can see back there. I have the flying leads and everything coming out of it. It's for a specific reason, which I'll tell you guys that in a few. And you guys also have one more thick cable that comes with the ECU, which is another one, just like that. This one has a little bit more wires on it, but this one is your lambada, aka your O2 sensors. So there you go. So your lambada one. So you have your lambada, you have your trigger, and you have your home cam. The home cam is the one that we're going to be focusing on today. So we can probably knock out the crankshaft position sensor as well, since we're already here. It's going to get wired exactly the same as we're going to do the other ones. The only difference is the connectors that actually go to it. So if you guys see here, these 2 connectors for our intake and exhaust position sensor, they're a 3-wire pin, and they are a special connector. So I had a hard time finding these. I finally found out what they were, so I'm here to give you guys the cheat codes on where you can get them. You don't have to spend no $30 on no connectors. They're all going to do the exact same shit. You can save yourself some money. But it's very important that you get the correct ones, because this is our red sensor, as you guys can tell by the red sleeve, and then the one for the crankshaft position sensor. Let me see if I can get that bad boy out. I'll sneak in here with you guys. You guys can see this is a green connector. So I'm going to show you guys the difference between them right now. All right, you guys, let me get my monkey book. This was a gift for me. So this is where I've been writing all of my stuff down. This is just like a little cheat code for me. I will give that to you guys at the end. But this is the two connectors. They're both 3 pins, but the only difference is where your slot is located. So it might look like they're exactly the same, but they're not. So I'm not sure if you can tell by the red one. Let me get you guys a little bit more lighting. I'm not sure if you can tell by the red one, but that slot is a lot further to the edge than the green one. The green one is a little bit closer to the center. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let me get a guide stick here. This is the slot that I'm talking about. So if you guys can see, it's a lot closer to the edge on the left side, while the green one is a little bit closer to the center. Right? So now the red one is designed to go to your intake and your exhaust position sensor. So they go here, and let's get it inserted together. It'll go all the way up, right? Now if we were to try that with the green one slot is a little bit closer to the center. Actually, that's actually a good video right there. So you guys can see it's closer to pin 2, while the slot is closer to pin 1 on the red. We'll put them side by side. There we go. So you guys can actually see the difference. The green is a lot closer to pin 2, while pin 1 is a lot closer on the red ones. So either way, if we were to grab the green one and try to insert it into our position sensors for our cams, that's the furthest that they go. They won't insert, so you'll never make a connection and your sensor will never work. Now with the red one, as you guys can see, it goes in no problem. Same thing with the crankshaft position sensor. I cannot use the red one because it would never allow that guide pin to go through, only the green. So it's very important that you get the right connectors. Let me get you guys some info. You guys, so here's some information for you. So for our red connector, the part number for this is 7507524.9. So if you go on Google and you type in this number and you type in connector afterwards, so for instance, let's do 7507524.9 connector on Google, it will pop up and you'll find these everywhere. So you just got to do a little bit of research to find out where you can find it the cheapest, because you don't have to spend a ton of money on this connector. It shouldn't be crazy expensive. For the green one is a little bit different. So the first couple of numbers are the same. The only ones that change it is the last number before the 9. So for instance, this one's a 7507525 instead of a 4.9, and then type in connector and you'll find that the green connector pops up. So those are the part numbers in order to get these connectors. Or what you can do is just get your factory harness, which I ended up doing, which is why these have pigtails. Get your factory harness and just cut these. I also went to the junkyard and I got myself a bunch of them because I wasn't sure if I was able to find them. So I just went to the junkyard and I went hunting for a bunch of different connectors. Almost every single BMW uses exact connectors. Later on in the future, I'll show you guys some more plugs that I stole from the junkyard. But so basically that's just to get the casing. We're not worried about the wires or the pins that go inside of it, because again, you can use this. Just give yourself some room so that when you put your heat shrinks and your butt connectors, if you were to use this as a pigtail, we don't want to do that in this build. We want everything nice and clean. So what we are going to do is we're going to strip these wires out along with the pins, and we are going to do new pins. So now these are special pins as well. I had ordered a universal kit. Off of Amazon that comes with a shit ton of different pieces. I have 820 pieces inside here, but not one of these fit those connectors. So basically this is a good kit for like other style connectors that are used a lot. Like for instance, these push connectors that go into like the vanos solenoids or the coolant temp sensor or the oil pressure switch, they're all the same connectors. Those are like a universal pin, so that kit was perfect for those. But now for a special connector like this one, yeah, you have to use the actual pins that go for it. So I also did the research for you guys and found that as well, so you guys don't have to do the hard work. Literally, I'm going to be doing everything for you guys. So you guys, all you guys have to do is literally just support the channel, sit there, watch it, enjoy the build with us, hit that like, comment, subscribe, and support me. I do all this stuff just to help myself and to help you guys out, because harness building is kind of like gate kept, and I'm here to unlock all the cheat codes and find everything for you guys. So like I said, I already did the research for you guys. I found the actual connectors that go to these. So the pins for those are a TE, amp, M, con, and they're 1.2 millimeters, and we're going to be using the females. So when you search these up, I got these on eBay. They were a couple bucks. I think like maybe like 20 bucks shipped for 50 pieces. The more you get, the cheaper they get, obviously. But we only needed a couple, but I'm planning on building another harness or two for a couple of buddy of mine that are also going maxxecu. So I ordered a nice little 50 set. I think they come in 25, 50, 100, etc. So I say maybe 20 bucks for 50 of these. These connectors, I just stole them off my harness, but you can probably get these connectors each for like 12, maybe $15 online. You can find them cheaper. You just got to do some hunting. But we're going to be using this pin for it. So if you guys are looking to get rid of that pigtails and have a nice clean install, get yourself the pins and get yourself some connectors. So again, that's the part numbers for our connectors. This is the part number for the pins. I'll have a link in the descriptions for the pins. I can't have one for the connectors because there's a bunch of different websites and you guys just gotta search up to find your cheapest price. But these I can definitely link for you guys. So just check out the description and they'll be ready for you guys to purchase. That being said, we are going to strip our connectors and focus on our intake and exhaust cam positioning sensors. So we have them here bare. If you get them used, you know, sometimes the seals or whatever can come ripped, as this one is, but it doesn't really matter because we're not really looking for like a weather tight seal. We're just looking for, you know, a nice connection. So the gasket, if it is worn out or whatever, it's not the end of the world. We're just looking for some nice clean wires. So I'm going to show you guys how to depin this. It's actually pretty easy. You just have to know exactly how to do it. So if we look at the connector, it's kind of hard to see, but there's our pins on the inside, and they also have this sleeve on the outside. It's basically locking them in place. So this is a double lock system, so it's kind of like a fail proof, and it's actually pretty dope. But basically what we're gonna look and do is unlock this top pin. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick a screwdriver in there, a nice thin flathead screwdriver. We're gonna pop that open. So when we pop them open, they're gonna look something like this. So if you guys see that hook, back there, that's also going to prevent the wires from pulling out. So we're going to stick the flathead screwdriver between that, and we're just going to pop it open. So I can't really show you how to actually do it on camera because my boy Hector stole my tripod. So everybody comment F Hector if you guys are at this point. But basically what we're looking to do is to stick the screwdriver between there. Let me see if I can do it while holding the screwdriver and record. So basically we're just going to, there we go. So we got that one pin released. It's kind of out of focus, but we got that one pin released. If you guys can see it lifting up there, the more that I pry. If I shove the screwdriver any more in, don't know if I can do it with one hand. There we go. So she released. So now she's wide open. You don't want to pry it open all the way. She's not a door. You will break them. You just need to basically pick them up that much. So if you guys see that little hoop in the back right here where my nail is at, these hooks actually get down there and it prevents the pin from pulling out. So it's very important that we pop this open for our next step. Speaking of next step, we are going to come over here. You're going to go on Amazon or eBay, whichever you guys decide to purchase, and you're going to get yourself a depinning set. So the pinning set comes with a bunch of these keys. There's a shit ton of them, and they're all designed for every single connector on the market. Basically, you're just looking for one of these little small skinny ones, just like this one right here. And the reasoning is, once we have our tab completely open, we're going to grab our connector. And if you guys see, it's basically a square, and then it has like that little nipple on top of the inserts. This pin gets inserted on top, and you have to pry it down a little bit just to push the locking pin out, and that's going to allow you to pull the cable right out. So as you guys can see, you put your release pin inside. You're going to pry down on the actual connector on the inside there, and you're going to pull on the wire at the same time. And that's how you're going to get this cable out. So yeah, I definitely can't do this with one hand, but you guys get the point. Hey guys, a little bit more information for you guys. So we're getting ready to start our wiring harness. So if we come over here and we look at our home sensor, our crank sensor, and our lambada sensor for our O2, if you guys follow the schematics, it says that all the shields must be connected together, and they have to go back to the ECU to pin 3, which is our shielded ground. Now that gets a little confusing because the way that they have it designed here, it might look like it's the end of the wiring, but it's not. So they already took care of all that for you. So if you come over here to the end of your wire, you will see your brown, your white, and then you'll see that bare shielding over there. That's your actual shielding wire. So now some may think that I have to strip this wire back and I have to connect them all over here. You don't. They already took care of that for you. So in the bulkhead that connects to the ECU, if you follow the wires, they already connected all of the shieldings on those, and they already have it connected inside of the bulkhead to E3. So that's completed. So when you guys go to cut this cable back down, you guys can cut this bare cable off and just leave it at the jacket like that, and just focus on wiring those two wires and then your 12-volt signal, your 12-volt switch, sorry. So just something to clear it up for you guys so it's not confusing. You don't have to worry about the shielding over here at this side, just your two wires coming out of the connector. And then for your lambada, it also has, you know, a couple more other wires there, but the shielding's already taken care of, you guys. So we're just going to be focusing on getting a 12-volt power on here, which we're going to do that first because that side of the harness is onto the car and I can't basically remove it without removing everything else. So I'm just going to wire the 12-volt outside of the car with you guys. We'll do that together. So we're going to come over here. The maxxecu does come with a bunch of spare wires. So if you guys see, these are all just spare powers. So we're just going to steal one. Doesn't matter which one. They all say 5-volt sensor 5-volt sensor supply. You guys see it on there. Doesn't matter what it says on the wire as long as you know what it's for. All right, you guys, so we are going to go ahead and grab our little baggie of our pins, and you want to make sure you don't mix these up with any other pins that you guys might have laying around, because if you guys are doing a wiring harness, I promise you guys have a bunch of these laying around. So make sure you keep them separated. So we're going to grab ourselves one of these pins. We're going to insert our wire, and we're looking for where our wire is going to rest so we can strip it back properly. So inside of the connector, you basically have two sets of wings. You have the longer wings back here, and you have your short wing down there. So the short wing in the middle of the connector is what's going to actually bite into the bare of the copper, while the longer wings on the outside is going to bite into the insulation jacket of your cable, and that's going to give you a more secure bite so you're not yanking on the actual connection part of the cable, which will be your bare cables. So we're going to strip that back just a fair little amount. So you're going to go ahead and grab yourself some wire strippers. We're going to strip that something about like that. Strip that back. I like to twist my wires so I don't have any bare wires hanging out. We're going to go ahead and insert it into our terminal. So if you guys see, just like that. So our copper is inside of our main, and then our longers are in the jackets. So we're going to twist those in just to hold our wire in place, just like that. You're going to go ahead and grab yourself your crimper tool. Let's insert this together. And give yourselves a nice little crimp. So now these are a little bit of a smaller gauge wire. This is like a 20 gauge wire. So my crimper tool doesn't go that small. So that's why I have a secondary one. So we're gonna come back in and do another crimp. Just like that. And then we're also going to crimp our cable. Just like that. So now we have a solid bite. You also want to do a tug test. Make sure the wires can't pull out, or rather the wires pull out here, and while I'm testing and I can do another crimp, then on the car later on the road with vibration, they fall out and you lose signal to whatever sensor it may be to. So now you're also supposed to put the sleeving jacket behind it and crimp it with the longer wings. I am not a fan of that because it doesn't give me the ease of mind where it's actually biting to the insulation jacket and protecting my actual connection part. What you're basically protecting when you crimp these is this section right here, where your copper is exposed to the actual connector. This is the most important part of the connection. This part is to protect this part from being yanked out. So this should be the tightest part of your crimp, but this is a backup. You want the stress to be pulled on here before it does on this part. If that makes sense. So what I like to do is just put the insulation part on the outside of the wire. So let me show you guys that. We're gonna head and grab our universal kit that we have, and we're just going to grab ourselves a sleeve So I'll just get the smallest one, and then I'll grab the end of my wire. And since we're doing an external wire, I can put the sleeves on afterwards. When you go to do the actual that bolt cable from the ECU side, you're gonna have to put your sleeves on beforehand, because you never be able to get them on afterwards. So we're gonna pull our wire through our sleeve all the way. Long ass wire. So there's our sleeve. And basically just like that. So like I said, you're supposed to crimp these on this section. I'm not a fan of doing that because it doesn't give me the ease of mind. So I'll do it afterwards. So there's one. If we go back to our wiring diagram, our 12-volt switch was supposed to go to pin 1. If you guys can see that right there on my thumb. So since we're doing our intake, we're gonna grab a red connector. We're gonna be looking for pin 1. So pin 1 is over here on the rounder side. And the way that they get inserted is if you look at the side of the connector, see how it has like that wing hanging on top of here? That's your locking wing. That gets inserted up here. And then that flat spot on the connector is where this locking mechanism locks into. So you can't pull this out. So it has the locking wing on here as your first lock, and this is your second lock. So prevent those from pulling out. So again, we're gonna go on pin 1. That's gonna be our far right in the back connector, flat side facing up, and we're going to insert. Let's see if I can get that in there with you guys. So we're trying to line it up. Has to be perfectly square. There we go. Make sure it gets inserted all the way. You're listening for that click. I'm not sure if you guys heard it with me talking, but if you guys can see the silver inside there, that pin is successfully inserted all the way in. That's all the way in. And now we just gotta put our sleeve. So with our sleeve, you guys can grab yourself a little rod. Here I just have a little TIG rod since I do welding. And I'm just gonna insert that. I'm actually probably gonna have to find something a little bit smaller, just because these holes are small enough already. Yeah, I'm gonna find something smaller, but you get the idea, basically. All right, you guys. So in our connector, our 3-pin connector, pin 1 is gonna be your 12-volt reference. So that's gonna be your signal, your switch 12 volts. Pin number 2 is gonna be your ECU signal, and then pin number 3 is gonna be your sensor ground. So if we come over, I had already made a mistake. So we're gonna go to our intake side. I had no rest, so I was referring to this side as intake. That's incorrect. Intake side, obviously this is your intake, and your exhaust is on that side. So I already made a little bit of a mistake. I put my signal on pin 3 and my ground on pin 2. That's due to no rest. So it's a new day today, so we're gonna fix everything up real nicely. We're gonna remove these 2 pins, swap them over, but that is what it should look like when it's done, obviously with the wire swapped over. And we're gonna be doing the same thing for the exhaust side, except the exhaust side doesn't come with this nice jacketed cable. Obviously this one's for home cam, if you guys can read it there. We're gonna have to run all separate wires on that one. So we have already started on that connector. We started making the pins, so we have our 12-volt reference, we have our sensor ground, and then we have to run our ECU signal. We'll get that over, and then we'll finally start working on the vanos solenoids. Hey guys, so check it out. Obviously the wires and everything are ran. Everything's looking really clean so far, so I'm gonna walk you guys through some things. So we've already went through of wiring over our home cam positioning sensor on our camshaft side for our intake. We also did the wiring over for our exhaust side as well. It's the same exact thing as this, except this is the side of a jacket. So we have our 12-volt, we have our sensor ground, and then we have our signal coming from our ECU. As far as our vanos solenoids are actually pretty simple as well. So we have a red wire coming out of them. It doesn't matter which way you put them either. So we put our 12-volt on pin 1, which is going to be the bottom side of our solenoids. So we have 2 12 volts. Those are going to go to a switch along with everything else. So now our ECU comes with a 5-volt sensor or switch, like a power. Now the BMW solenoids don't use 5 volts. It's recommended to use 12 volts. So we're going to use that 5-volt reference from our ECU is we're just going to power up a relay. So we'll buy a small 5 voltage rated relay so we can put 12 volts through it to power everything that's switched. So back to over here, We have 12 volts going into our vanos solenoids. And then for our signal from the ECU, we're going to be using our green wires, which is a GPO output. So for our intake, it doesn't matter which ones you use. It's very important that you don't use GPO 7 because your GPO 7 is going to be used later on specifically for your BSD board. So just keep the GPO 7 unused. So we're just going to go in order. So basically, like I said, we're going to use our first one. We have 7 of them. We're going to use number 1 for our intake, and then we're going to use number 2 for our exhaust. Very important on where you put them because later on we're going to have to go into the maxxecu program, and we're going to have to basically tell the ECU what everything is going to. So our GPO 1 is going to go to intake, GPO 2 exhaust, vanos, etc. So for our exhaust cam position sensor, the output that we're going to be using for that, okay, so we are going to be using where are we at? So we have intake vanos over here, GPO 1 plus a 12 volt switch. Our exhaust vanos is a GPO 2 plus a 12 volt switch. Our intake cam is on that gray cable, so everything's included. You just have to run an external 12 volt on the outside of it. For our crankshaft positioning sensor, we did not wire that one just yet. I'm actually going to do that one off camera just because I have the harness and everything over there, so it's kind of hard to do on camera, but it's going to get wired exactly the same as this. So to not get it confusing, again, pin 1 is going to be your 12 volt reference, your switch. Pin 2 is going to be the signal from the ECU, and pin 3 is going to be your sensor ground. So keep those in mind. Your crankshaft position sensor is going to get exactly wired just like that. So your sensor grounds are very important because it doesn't go to the ground that we're going to be putting to the cylinder head or anything. The sensor ground is going to go to ECU. So it has its own ground cable coming from the ECU. As you guys can see, there is our sensor ground. And then somewhere in here, I have right here, I just have ground to engine. So we're not going to use the ground to engine. It specifically has to go to the ECU ground. So there is a ground cable that comes out of the ECU that says sensor ground. And then there's another one that says, what is this one? Engine ground. There's a thicker brown cable that comes off the ECU that says engine ground. This is the actual ground for the ECU itself. This wire gets grounded to the engine cylinder head. The thicker brown cable, there's only 2 coming out of the harness. The thinner brown cable is your sensor ground. So some of these sensors require a specific ground, and the reasoning that is for is because that is a super cleaned ground from the ECU. So on the engine ground and everything, you have a little bit of noise that goes through it, while the sensor ground is cleaned out by a bunch of filters and everything through the ECU, so you can get the cleanest signal possible. So make sure you guys are wiring those grounds exactly where they're supposed to go to. So we have our exhaust position sensor, intake position sensor, vanos solenoids. Now we're gonna move over to our coolant pressure, our coolant temperature switch. So on top of our Mickey Mouse connector over here, we have our coolant temperature switch. This also gets a sensor ground, and it also goes to the ECU. Let's see if we can find that. So we got our sensor ground right here. Here's our temperature, and then we're gonna be using there's a wire that comes out of the ECU. It's a black wire, but it's coolant. Now you got to be careful because there's also 2 of them on the ECU. So if we come over here to the maxxecu reference sheet, we can see over here we have coolant temperature sensor, CLT, and if we follow it, that is going to be coolant sensor F1. So on your wire, make sure it says F1, which ours indeed does. It's hard to see, small letters, but this is our coolant one. But like I said, you also got to be careful because you also have 2 over here that says analog inputs as temperature as well. Those are not the ones that you're looking for. You're looking for specifically the coolant sensor. So that is the one that we are going to be wiring up to our coolant temperature. So that gets wired here. That's on pin 2, and then our sensor ground, which is our pin 1. So again, I don't think it matters on where you wire these at, but that is the way that gets wired. That's their signal from the ECU to here. So you have your coolant, you have GPO 1, GPO 2, you have your DIN input, your DIN 1, and then there's 2 digital inputs on this ECU, right? So if we come over here, we have digital N1, digital N2, K3 and K4. These are digital VR inputs. Your second digital input, you're going to be using for our oil pressure switch. So the oil pressure switch only gets 1 wire that goes to it. That is going to be your DIN 2, your digital input 2. So both are going to be used for, well, one of them is going to get used for the exhaust, and then the other one is going to get used for your coolant or your oil pressure switch. So that is the wiring so far. Hopefully it explains it for you guys. It's super simple. Just wire one at a time. The easiest way to do it is just get all of your 12-volt wires and everything. All those get wrapped up at once, and then you just run your single outputs and your inputs to your sensors. So now that we have all that, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and put some wire loom and everything over it. Fortunately, I'll do that off of camera, but just have a good look at what it looks like now, and then we'll come back with some wire loom. Bam, guys, just like that. She's all cleaned up with some wire looms. So now I'm gonna be putting heat shrink and everything over these so we can cover these exposed cables here. So it's gonna look real nice and clean, but I can't do that at the moment because if you guys see up here, the rest of the harness is still exposed. So the plan for this is to finish, because here I have some sensor grounds and everything from the ECU that I have to tie in with a couple of others. So I cannot finish this harness just yet, because I also have some more wires that have to come this way to feed our water pump and to read our thermostat. So I have about maybe a lot more than 4 wires to come more. And they're gonna be bigger gauge cables. So in order for me to be able to get wire loom and everything over all of those, I had to remove these connectors and everything all over again once those other wires are ran. So technically I can do all that at once, but like I said, I'm doing these videos in series. I'm doing little by little. So we took care of the injectors, we took care of the coil packs. Now we took care of our camshaft positioning sensors. We took care of our vanos solenoids. We took care of the coolant temperature switch, and we took care of the oil pressure switch. So if you guys have any questions or whatever, comment down below and I'll get back to you, or you guys can send me a DM over at Frenchi Fab on Instagram and I'll get back to you guys as well. But we're coming along. Next we're gonna be doing, I have the water pump and everything to wire up. I had to put the alternator in. We have to put the AC compressor and get a signal for that as well. And I believe that's gonna be everything for just this one harness. But other than that, I appreciate you guys for sticking around, showing some love. Comment down below, hit that like, subscribe button. This is what's gonna, keep me from making these videos. So the more you guys show love, the more it shows me motivation to make these videos for you guys. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one.
The hit brain.